Hi, welcome to Ed Talks. My name is Anne Dymond, and I'm a Board of Governors teaching chair here at the University of Lethbridge. I want to start by acknowledging that we're on the traditional lands of the Blackfoot people, and as a guest in that territory, I'd like to thank them for their hospitality. I'd also like to say Oki Nitsu Kawawa, which means hello and welcome to our friends and family. It's my pleasure today to be here with Dr. Olu Awosoga, who's a faculty member in health sciences. And he's also the incoming Board of Governors teaching chair. So I'd like to start by saying congratulations, Olu, and yay, I get to work with you. So that will be lovely. So we're here today to talk about teaching. Ed Talks talk about teaching, which to me is a kind of reconfiguration of what we often do in academia. A normal academic introduction would list all of your degrees and where you got them. But I want to start instead by asking you about your teaching history. How did you get to be here as a teacher?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and that's where I started my education. I became very passionate to teaching from my College of Education days, because in Nigeria, if you want to be a teacher, you have to start at either education degree or you go to College of Education.
To be a professor even in your field, statistics?
If you want to teach, to have that knowledge, they believe you have to go through education.
Oh, so, well, and that's quite different than here, where many of us have almost no training in how to teach.
Well, it's possible, but for those of us who are passionate about teaching, who wants to learn the pedagogy, we prefer to go through the...
That seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
That's not what we do here.
We have some professors also who doesn't have any knowledge of education in the university. So because of that passion, I spent the first 3 years after my high school at the College of Education. And that was where I developed my interest in teaching, by teaching colleagues, peers, because they give me pre-lunch and dinner. I love that. When you tutor them, they reciprocated that by giving you some kind of thank you gesture.
Right.
So every week I'm sure that I will get free food. So I love to listen in class and teach them after class.
Very strategic.
And help them with, So after the 3 years, I started teaching high school mathematics. That was in 1984. So I went back to finish my degree because at the College of Education, you only get national certificate in education. So going back to the University of Lagos, I got my degree in mathematics education, and after which I did my master's in statistics. I was lucky to be given sessional teaching after my master's in statistics in the School of Business Administration. I taught business mathematics. That was the time when mainframe and punch cards, computers, were in vogue.
Right.
So I went back to do postgraduate diploma in computer science.
Right.
Because I love to learn how to write some codes. As a statistician, you need some knowledge of computer as well.
Right.
So that was what pushed me back to go and do postgraduate diploma in computer science at the University of Lagos. After that, I did another master's in business admin.
Wait,
and I
so you have 3 master's degrees?
I have 5.
You have 5 master's degrees. This I did not know about you. In statistics, education.
I have in statistics, then I have in pure mathematics from the US. Then I have in business administration, I have in computer science. Then I did another one in applied statistics when I got to the States.
Right.
So it was a long journey. But,
indeed.
I love every
part of it.
Yes. So after teaching for 10 years at the University of Lagos, I moved to Michigan.
And so were you teaching in a business field or teaching statistics?
Actually, the first 2 years, I was a sessioner part-time with the business school.
Right.
But in 1991, I got a full-time tenure track teaching with the university.
Right.
University of Lagos. But that one is in Department of Mathematics and Statistics.
Right.
Faculty of Science, University of Lagos. So that was where I was for 10 years, till 2001. So in 2001, I moved to Michigan to complete my doctoral degree in statistics.
Right.
Unfortunately, when I got to Central Michigan University, where I got the admission, I discovered that they don't have PhD in statistics. They only have PhD in mathematics.
Right.
So I decided that since they gave me scholarship, I will use it for another master's.
Okay.
So I did another master's of art in mathematics. So after which I moved to Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo for a doctoral program. They look at my transcript, they said, your statistics has been so long, you have to take some refresher courses.
Oh.
I hate refresher courses. So I said I will take another master's, and that was why it's 5. So I took another master's, and I completed that in 15 months. So I moved to the PhD,
right,
which I completed after 3 years in 2009 in applied statistics.
Right.
So that's my journey.
And then after you finished your PhD, did you come directly here?
Exactly. I was so lucky enough, so thrilled, that I got the position of academic assistant 3,
right,
to teach applied statistics to non-statisticians.
Right. So to me, it seems like you've done a bunch of different kinds of teaching, like teaching math in a mathematics department, or statistics in a mathematics department must be very different than teaching statistics to health sciences students.
You are very correct. Yeah.
Okay. So how do they differ?
Yeah, it was easy for me to move from the lecturing method in Nigeria to Michigan, because it's almost lecturing to lecturing.
Okay.
So because during my graduate program, I was teaching independent courses as graduate teaching assistant as well.
And when you say lecturing, do you mean that kind of model of teaching that we call sage on the stage? Right?
Exactly.
The person who stands at the front
and talk to the board.
Yeah, you talk to the board, right?
Students are there. Just
then they get it or they don't, and you don't have to worry about it.
You just continue teaching.
Right. Many of us had that sort of older model, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but moving from that lecturing mode now to student-centered, which is what is being practiced at the University of Lethbridge, was a steep learning curve for me.
Oh, did you find it so? Because you seem like such a natural at it now that I'm...
So when I got to the University of Lethbridge, I met some mentors here who told me, well, you are teaching non-statistician, so you cannot use the approach of formula.
Right.
You have to now think of something else, how to get them engaged.
Right.
So I have passion for student learning. So I decided to introduce some kind of, instead of use of formula, we now switch to use of software, software packages.
Okay, so you're not making them learn the math per se.
In my class, you don't even need to know any mathematical formula.
But you need to know when to use them.
When to use, what to use, how to use it, and the interpretation of the output.
Yes.
Because we are now focusing on more of application of statistics in real life.
Right.
Instead of proving derivations, formulas.
So it's much more like applied statistics.
Applied statistics, yes.
Are those courses required for students in health sciences?
Yes. It's required for all students in nursing, addiction counseling, public health, and some other majors as well.
Can you just explain to me why people who were going into nursing or addictions counseling would need to know applied statistics?
Very good. Good question. Even lawyers, they use numbers to prove point in court. So everyone needs statistics. Because all of us use numbers.
Yes.
And you see, the use of the statistics itself is a science of collecting, analyzing, interpretation of data.
Right.
So if they give you evidence and you look at it, you cannot interpret it. It's a problem.
Right.
So the people in nursing, they take BP. They want to know, on the average, what's the BP of average human being?
Right.
That is statistics for you. They want to know, okay, if we have this set of past history about a patient, can we predict if we see something relevant or related to what previous experience.
Right.
That is statistics.
So
Now,
it's
modeling.
a way of giving them a way to critically analyze the data. It's a kind of critical thinking.
Critical thinking, exactly.
Yes.
You are challenging them.
So it's not just accepting the data.
Not just accepting the information you are given, but how do you process it?
Right.
How do you relate it and translate it to something meaningful?
Okay.
So it's easy to convince students in this part of the world to see the relevance of statistics
Right.
in their various disciplines, because it's mostly application.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. I think that's important. So we were talking though before I took us on a side
Yeah,
bit
so
about
I said I was thrilled to get the position here. So as academic assistant 3 in 2009, 2012 I was fortunate again, there was an opening, advertised tenure track assistant professor, which I competed for and I got it. So I'm lucky enough, I was able to get tenured and promoted to associate prof in 2017.
Right.
So it has been...
Congratulations. Yes, so you're here permanently now.
Permanently, yes.
Okay, so tell me how your teaching changed when you came here. Like, I'd be interested to know sort of in concrete terms what it means.
Well, you see, coming from a different cultural background, where people understand your accent,
Oh.
people follow, people accept whatever you give them on the board without challenging.
Right.
Coming to now a different culture where you need to convince beyond every reasonable doubt why students should be in that class.
Okay. So you had to work
You
harder
have
to get them on
work harder
side.
to get them on your side.
And so you mentioned your accent. Did you find that that was a big challenge?
At the beginning.
At the
but
beginning.
later on, people get used to it. Yeah, people get used to my accent. They just advised me, Olu, speak slowly
Right.
so that we can pick it, we can follow you.
They say that to every prof. It's not your accent. They say that to me all the time.
So that's one of it. The second one is I teach a course everybody loves to hate, statistics.
Right.
It's a dreadful course to many people. They come with anxiety, fear to that class. So you need to eliminate or reduce that anxiety. That's the first thing I try to do.
So how
to
do you do
calm
that?
them down. Calming them down to assure them that I'm here to support them all the way through. They are free to ask any question. No question is stupid in statistics.
Right.
Feel free to talk. Nobody can shut you down. You pay to be in this class and should get the best out of it.
Right.
So I try to
You explicitly address their fears.
Their fears.
Yeah.
So
they know you're sympathetic.
So they know. And the second part is I introduce small group teaching method. That is, I adopted a modified version of team-based learning.
Okay.
Putting them into small groups.
Right.
Where they can discuss, and whatever they don't understand, they can throw the question to me.
Right.
So that makes it easier for even introvert and extrovert to exchange ideas.
Right.
And then when they run into problem, I go to the team to answer their question. So it's a method that I've reduced me directly delivering the lecture, for now putting them in the position of taking responsibility for their learning.
Yeah.
And the other thing is to be able to convince them on the usefulness of this, because the question you asked the other time, as a nurse, do I need statistics? Why are you forcing me to take? So you try to explain to them the usefulness of this. And by the time we get into the course, they themselves appreciate the use of statistics.
Right.
Because most of the team problems I give, they are practical problems, which relates to you interpreting and giving information to your patients or explaining to the family.
So you're teaching them statistics through almost like a case study model.
Exactly, case study model.
Right.
Yeah, because in the team-based learning approach, you build them into teams, you give them the materials to prepare before coming to class.
Right, so it's a bit of we call that a flipped classroom, where they're responsible for learning before they come.
Before they come.
Yeah.
So I call it blended because I also give them audio materials, which to reduce their problem with my accent. So the audio materials read my lecture note, my PowerPoint, everything, they have it before coming to class.
Right.
So they have listened to it. So anything I'm talking about is not new to them, actually.
It shouldn't be new to them.
It shouldn't be new. So I expect them to have listened to it and prepare for the class.
And I imagine the team helps with that because they know they have to not let down their team members,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, so they do prepare.
Yeah, although we have some loafers.
Always.
we always find them. They won't walk, but they want to get the mark.
Yes.
So I do introduce team participation mark.
How do you assess the team participation mark?
We have it midterm and midway the course and at the end of the course. Students have 5 areas where they have to grade their teams.
Okay. It's not you doing the assessment, it's the team doing the assessment.
Yeah, the team will do the assessment, send the information to me directly, and we now average it.
Right.
And then add it onto their grade.
So that is a powerful motivator, let's call it.
Yeah.
To get them working.
To get them working.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, the point of getting them working is that it leads to their success.
Exactly. They are able to learn something and gain something from the class and from their colleagues. They are able to challenge their colleagues with questions. And it's always interesting to see them when they get into their team being active.
Yeah.
You will think some people will be on their cell phone. No, they don't have time. They will be, because they know that every class they have quizzes.
Right. Oh, every class.
They have quizzes.
So, I mean, frequent testing is...
Frequent testing. So
we know that leads to better outcomes for students.
Yeah, frequent testing. So they want to understand from their team anything they didn't get from me.
Right.
Because they are going to answer the questions on the quizzes. So that gives them some motivation to be ready to contribute to the team.
Right. And I know from my own teaching that when someone's teaching someone else, so that strengthens their own learning, right? So they might think, oh yeah, I totally know this, and then they start to explain it and realize, oh, I only 3/4 know it. And so, yeah, it strengthens the strong learners and it strengthens the people who have farther to go.
That's true. That's one of the advantages of this team-based learning. Yeah.
Really interesting. Now, so I know you took the instructional skills workshop. We took it I think at the same time in separate groups. And for me, that was a really transformational event. It really changed the way I think of teaching. Is that one of the things that helped you flip this model, let's say?
I would say yes. Although I've introduced the team-based learning before taking the instructional skill workshop, but it improves my pedagogy, my way of reasoning, looking at things. After taking that workshop, it improves my method of delivery. So, because before there are something I assume, and from that workshop I discovered that no, you cannot assume. It's not so easy. So I try to change my method to adjust to suit student needs, focus more on student needs than covering the syllabus.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a transformational shift for most of us in the ISW, that it shifts you from thinking about covering the material to teaching the students, and those things are different.
Yeah, they are two different things.
I'm glad to hear that you had
I gained a lot from the ISW workshop.
As did I, and I think it's one of the really important things that the Teaching Center offers, among many.
An article was published last week from McGill. On the importance of instructional skill workshop for new faculty hires. Faculty of Engineering they enforce all their new hires to go through ISW.
Really?
Yeah. It was published last week.
Sometimes I think it's less the new hires that need the ISW than the old hires.
But they encourage all their professors actually to go through, because they introduce it as professional development for faculties.
Yes, but that goes back to that first thing we talked about, which is that many faculty members really learned how to teach by watching teachers that they like. And so they're good at teaching learners who are like them, but they might not be so aware of other kinds of ways of teaching, right?
Yeah, there are different pedagogies out there. That's why I always like to visit colleagues' classrooms, and I invite them also to visit my classroom so we can exchange ideas on what I'm doing well, what I need to improve upon, where I think I'm doing good and I'm sucking it up. So they need to look at it and advise, and I advise colleagues as well. So it's a good thing to try and exchange ideas about teaching and learning to get motivated.
I've always been a bit afraid to have other colleagues in my classes, so I admire your courage in that.
I'm always open to, because I love giving me feedback.
Right.
That's when I sit down to reflect on what the students are saying, what are my colleagues saying, especially people from the teaching center. I always trouble them. I want you to come to my class at least twice a semester. Come and give me what you think I'm doing.
You have people from the teaching center twice a semester come
I've
and
called
give you feedback.
Doug, I've been to my class, Jeff, Joadis, and Dave. They always, because I'm always afraid of my accent.
Right.
And they are the one who give me the confidence. Olu, your accent is clear.
Right.
Don't be bothered. Students are following.
Well, but you must see that in your teaching evaluations, if they're worried about your accent or not worried.
Very few. When I started,
yes,
about 20% we say his accent is a barrier, but after midterm, I've been able to catch up.
Right.
But now, if you see 1 out of 60 to mention accent, no.
Right.
They don't mention anything because they have access to the materials.
Okay, so but that to me I think is such an important sign of reflective teaching,
Yes.
right? Like you recognize that there was an issue and you dealt with the issue. And that is what makes us better teachers, I think, when we're able to kind of be honest about what our strengths are and how to work around something.
Our weakness, yeah.
That, I mean, yeah, that is a challenge for some students,
Yeah.
right? So you provide them other ways of getting the
yes,
material.
that's why I introduced that blended materials, just to reduce the problem of these accent barriers between me and my student. I like to communicate the idea clearly and simple. So the blended materials, I bought a software, Articulate 2.0, to read my PowerPoint, and it's very interactive. After reading, it will ask you a question. So student needs to be answering the question, why. So it's a form of interactive learning.
On the PowerPoint, the students have to answer the questions when they read it.
Yes, the software is reading it. Students are listening. It will stop. I said, based on what you have just had, can you please identify this variable in this scenario? Then you have to identify. Then if you put in, it will tell you are wrong.
Right.
You're supposed to have answered this way. So it will give them the answer. And then they continue.
So it's a kind of assessment, but it's not graded.
No.
Which is another teaching technique,
Yes.
right? To have assessments so they know if they understand it, but not to grade the assessment.
No, it's not graded.
Yeah, so it's more for them.
More for them, to just be sure that they are listening, they are following what the lecture point is saying.
Right.
Or the lecture PowerPoint is
so
saying.
They know where they're sitting in the class and they know what they need to learn.
What they need to learn and where they're having problems, though. And I operate an open office. My office hour is just on paper. You can call me anytime, stop by the office, ask questions. I'm always in the office. So they know that I'm always available and ready to support them.
And I know students appreciate that. Right?
Oh, they appreciate it so much, so much.
That to me is one of the funny things I find about teaching here, is that I feel most of us at the university have pretty open doors for our students. But we often get students coming in, I find, who say, oh, I didn't know I'd be allowed to come to you. And you're like, yeah, there's a lineup outside the door all hours of the day, right? So
that is one of the advantages of University of Lethbridge have over other bigger universities.
I think so.
The closeness between the instructors and the students.
Yes.
The one-on-one relationship that you can go to your professor's office, ask questions,
and
they attend to you. You don't need much of appointment or to wait on the long queue.
Yes, that was a difference from my previous institutions as well. Yeah.
Where we have large number of students, talking to 500 students. How many do I want to attend to?
Yeah.
So, but here you have 30, 60. That is still manageable.
That's useful for your students and good for us too.
Yeah, it's good for the university as well.
So I know you've been for a long time involved with the Teaching Center and involved in the scholarship of teaching and learning. I think because you have statistics expertise, you get drawn into a lot of other people's projects. Is that true?
That's true, yes.
So tell me about some of your scholarship of teaching and learning.
Yes, thank you. I was a teaching fellow before. I served 2 years as teaching fellow, 2016-2017. During the teaching fellow, I got involved with the teaching center. The teaching center, I learned a lot from what needs to be done and how to do things properly. So I got involved with the scholarship of teaching and learning. I took that up as my project, my teaching the fellow project.
Right.
And during the time we introduced it, and we were able to gather some people who are interested in better pedagogy into the group. The teaching center coordinates the process. We have been able to metamorphose to a think tank group now,
right?
Because we later involved the vice president research, who is very much interested in teaching,
right?
Also, and the dean of the School of Liberal Studies,
right?
Liberal Education,
yes,
yeah, very much interested in scholarship of teaching and learning,
right? So recognizing that there's a scholarship, there's research around good university teaching, and that needs to be supported by and that is supported by the research office.
Yeah. So we were lucky that the vice president research supported the idea. He even delivered a lecture with the dean of School of Liberal Education,
right,
on scholarship of teaching and learning at the University of Lethbridge.
I attended that lecture.
Which was very good. So
right,
it's part of my plan to follow up on where that lecture ended, because I want to see what can we move forward.
Right.
What's the way forward from where they stopped that time.
Right.
It's part of my plan. My work with the teaching center also involve participating in the teaching advisory board, also looking into grants, application for grants, travel fund, and giving advice on use of spaces on the university. The TH177 is that flipped classroom, wonderfully prepared, and we have the Socratic classroom. Socratic classroom in the UOL also.
Oh, so you were involved in the teaching spaces?
No, I love to get involved, so I've been to those places. I try to use the TH177, but
they're often booked. It's tricky to get those rooms when you want them.
Very difficult to get, but
same here.
There are good things that the teaching center are thinking on way to make best use of spaces on campus.
Yes.
And encourage professors to flip their classrooms.
Right.
Try something new. Because for some of us, it's a bit...
Well, I mean, I teach art history, so you want it to be a dark room with good images, and so that sort of restricts what rooms we get. And sometimes I have a small class of 25 people, and it's capped at 25 because it's an upper year course, and they put me in E690, which seats 150 or something. Like pedagogically, it doesn't work, right? So I think that's happening less now that the teaching center is
getting involved in the use of spaces.
Yeah, recognizing that the classroom actually changes what you can do with the pedagogy. It's important.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there should be more encouragement for professors to get used to taking up new challenges.
Right.
Because I know it's tricky, but we should not be afraid of taking up challenges or trying new things and see which one will work. Because if you have the interest of the student at heart, you should be ready to give them the best.
So, but have you also done research yourself on the scholarship of teaching and learning?
Yes, yes. My first research was with Professor Brad Higgins. He's retired now, on the student attitude to statistics.
Okay, so
undergraduate.
Done actual research on students' attitudes towards statistics.
Did
they love statistics?
That's why I call it a course that student loves to hate.
Right. So you have data to back up that statement. Students love to hate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was supported by the then Cato Center for Advancement.
Oh, so that goes back back a ways, back in the day.
Yeah, but now Teaching Center, it was supported in 2010, 2011. We got 2 papers published, one quantitative, one qualitative, because we did both survey and focus group interviews.
Right.
So we got 2 papers, and we have presented about 6. We have made about 6 presentations at both international and national conferences.
And so what did the data show?
It shows that students appreciate the use of statistics after understanding why they need it.
Right.
But before then, they don't even want to hear it.
Right.
They think you are punishing them. But they show some sort of appreciation towards the end of the course.
Right.
Because the survey we give it is pre-post before you enter the course,
Right.
and at the end of the course. So we can get where they are coming from.
Right.
Have they been able to gain something from the class? Has their view been able to change?
Right.
Not many of them we are able to convince, but at least we can see a bigger shift of appreciating the use of statistics in their field.
So did that research change how you taught?
Yes.
How did it change it?
Part of the question asked in the survey is how the professor introduced the courses or the topics.
Right.
How they relate it to practical application, the clinical implication. Were you able to learn something from it?
Right.
Did you gain from the use of software program instead of formulas,
right.
which was used in the old school? So we were able to learn from there how we need to change some of our method. That is where part of the area I got some information about my accent, although they said towards the end of the class they get used to it and it was no more a problem. So that was why I became very careful in the use of words,
right.
Or how I present my materials. I learned that I need to slow down instead of just
rushing through, more things. It's always in every field. I think that's a challenge, right? The quantity of information you feel you need to present versus what they can actually learn.
Assimilate,
right?
yes.
It's very, very
and also that's also showed us that we need to put the student at the center of our learning, of our teaching and learning, and to make students take responsibility for their learning, because they believe they just come to class, we give them the materials, they are not being challenged. So we brought in some critical thinking approach here.
So it shifts the teaching from about the skills acquisition, the math skills, to foregrounding how it's meaningful?
Meaningful, yeah.
Yes.
Making it more meaningful and more relevant
right.
to their field.
Because if they know why it's important, they're more likely to
listen and to be interested in learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also have, as I told you, I've mentioned before, we have students with different background in mathematics. Some people will have very high level of mathematical knowledge. Some people none. Some people some. So it depends. We have to balance.
Right.
And balancing it requires some reflection or reflexive thinking on the part of the instructor.
I think that's must be a huge challenge if some people are coming in with high mathematical skills and so don't have the associated fear, and other people have.
Yeah, that's where we need differentiated teaching system. Because those who have very good knowledge of mathematical background, they want formulas. They prefer use of calculators.
Right.
When you ask them to go and run programs, like punishing them to learn the procedure in the lab.
Right.
Whereas those who doesn't like mathematics would prefer the program to do it for them.
Right.
They just interpret.
Right.
So those are the two gaps that needs to be bridged. We do our best to try and bring it together, but we still know that students with better mathematical knowledge coming into class see it as too dumbed down. They say, oh, it's too easy.
Right.
But some other people are struggling.
But people actually say it's too easy, your course? I
Some
don't
people,
believe.
one or two students
not very many.
in the out of 60 will tell you, Olu, you dumped this class down too much. I said, no. Consider other students who are in the class who are learning as well.
Well, and consider what they need it for in their program. Like, they don't need advanced mathematical skills. They need the applications.
Just the introductory level application. That's all they need. So when we identify such students, we give them extra homework, which we give them some bonus. So those challenging homework you give them, they themselves will struggle. And they will now be able to appreciate what other students are going through.
Right. Well, and I imagine the team-based learning helps with that too.
Yeah, the team-based learning,
right?
You're able to spread those students across the team so they
right.
can pull others up and
right.
explain some concept. And where they don't understand the application, this other student will be able to inform them as well.
Right.
Okay, you know the mathematical part of it, this is the interpretation part of it. So they contribute, both of them.
Right. But to me, that's one of the things that I found really meaningful from my ISW time, that so many good pedagogy techniques work together, right? So the team-based learning works for differentiated learning, the flipped classroom, like they all actually complement each other, and really it's about meeting students, all of those things are about meeting students where they're at.
That's very much true, that's true. Because the ISW actually helped me a lot to see things from different perspectives.
Right, that not everyone is coming at it. And so that, to me, that's sort of a more inclusive approach to learning, whether it be about how you learn or what background you come in with or your cultural differences, all of those things, the teaching techniques actually end up being similar for all of the challenges.
But
right?
you'll be ready to adopt more than one teaching techniques.
Right.
It will be a combination of several of them to be able to meet students at their point of need, because we are here to serve the students, so we should be able to.
We're here to serve the students. That's,
that's why we are here. And that's why the scholarship of teaching and learning is very important.
Right.
It's not only doing research in our subject areas, but we are here because the students are here.
Right.
So if they are not here, we're not
doing.
Right. So we should be considering doing some research that will improve our pedagogy.
I agree.
Not only focusing on subject areas.
I agree. I think research on our pedagogy and actively working on our pedagogy is also really important. But maybe that I want to shift now to your project for that you've proposed as your incoming Board of Governors teaching chair, because to me that doesn't seem quite as clearly linked to this caring model for students that we've been articulating, but it's one that I care a lot about as well. So can you tell me about your incoming project?
I attended the Montreal University Teaching Conference in Banff last year, and Lethbridge College and Grand Prairie, they co-presented a project on academic cheating, academic dishonesty. So I interviewed some of the presenters, and I said, well, this thing has been done in the US in many schools, and they have put policy in place. I look at University of Lethbridge. Why are we not doing something in that realm or in that area? So in my discussion with the teaching center, Jeff took it up, said, Olu, we are going to look into academic dishonesty and contract cheating. So when the opportunity opens up that they are looking for application for Board of Governors teaching chair, I said, wow, that's a good one to do, because I know it's a tricky
academic dishonesty, it's a tricky, very tricky thing, right?
Thing to do, but I believe with the support of previous Board of Governors teaching chairs and teaching fellows and teaching center, we can get it done. So the project is on academic dishonesty in post-secondary institution,
right?
A case study of University of Lethbridge.
So you're going to do a case study, and how will you, I assume you'll start by trying to assess to what extent there is academic dishonesty here?
That's the essence of we want to look at the extent that we have it at the university, if we have it at all. To what extent we have it here? Can there be policy put in place, or is there any way we can help students to understand what they call academic dishonesty?
Right.
Because some of these students, especially those coming from outside North America, international students, plagiarism, they don't see it. I
agree that sometimes that can be a challenge for international students, but I think for all students, what academics define as academic dishonesty, what
Yeah.
profs know is academic dishonesty, and what students coming out of high school know, it's very different, right? Like they're living in this, sampling culture where it's fine to just take a little bit from there and a little bit from there without citing.
They don't,
it doesn't.
just to put it together and submit. So they need to be more educated on what is academic dishonesty.
Yeah.
So that's one of the purpose of going into this project.
Yes.
So I'll be doing it with the support of Teaching Center, Teaching Fellows, Board of Governors Teaching Chairs. We will do the sequential mixed method.
Okay.
That is, we will be starting with standardized questionnaire. We have been talking to Lethbridge College, those professors that did the pilot study there. So they have been magnanimous enough to give us their copy of their survey and some of their results. So we are looking into it with Jeff Meadows and some other interested parties. We are working on it to see how we can put it into place. I think Jeff Meadows actually presented at the Dean's
yes, I think so.
meeting recently.
Yeah, right.
Just to tell them we are not wish hunting. We just want to know what is going on. How can we help?
So, I know because I've looked into it previously that any institution that has done questionnaires on it has found fairly pervasive levels of cheating of various kinds. And I don't think there's any reason to think that we will find other results here.
It's possible we may find some new ideas from the University of Lethbridge because based on the environment where we are operating.
Yes.
So we may be able to get new information that can help our specific, address our specific problem.
But to me, the thing for the academics all over the world need to think about is how to convey the information to students about why it matters, right? Why does cheating matter?
Yeah, that would be part of, we don't want to jump the gun. We want to get the information first, look at the evidence, and then propose solution from there.
Right.
So I mentioned that we are doing sequential mixed method. We'll be looking at survey first, then there will be focus group.
Okay.
To try and clarify points that we get from survey, which we need some clarity to ask questions from small teams. So there will be focus group both in Calgary and Lethbridge to be able to back that up. But based on literature review, we know that majority of the students don't understand the meaning of academic dishonesty.
Right.
It depends on their background. So we may be proposing something like introducing it or calling somebody from teaching center to present something on academic cheating to new students.
Right.
Even new faculty members on how to undo it when it rears its head. So because not every faculty knows how to handle the situation.
Right. Well, and I think that's also an important part of the kind of caring about students that we've been talking about, because if a key part for me of good teaching is that you meet the student where they're at. You don't expect them to start here if they're here, right? And so if they don't know what academic dishonesty is by our standards, it is actually our job to educate them about that, right? So yeah, to me it's a really important thing that we need to tackle institutionally. I think it's great that you're taking that project on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you on that, hopefully in the coming years.
Yeah, thank you.
Olu, I want to go back to the SOTL questions because I know you've been involved in other people's SOTL projects as well. And one of the things I think that it's important that's coming up is how the university thinks about research about teaching.
Yeah, it's vary from faculty to faculty.
Okay.
So it depends on which faculty a prof is applying for tenure or promotion.
So if I were doing research on scholarship of teaching and learning in some faculties?
In some faculty or some departments, it may not be recognized as a form of research.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the challenges that we are facing currently. How can you recognize it as STP documents in some faculty and not in the other faculty.
Yeah.
We have to make it uniform. And I believe that scholarship of teaching and learning, any research in this area should be accommodated in every faculty as part of PAR, Professional Activity Report, or scholarship, salary and tenure promotion file.
Like if we're doing the work, it needs to get recognized.
It needs to get because pedagogy, improvement in pedagogy is working towards meeting our students at where they are.
Yeah.
So it's part of our purpose for being here.
Right.
So we should be able to count it, not only research in subject area or in labs. No, we're carrying the student along. This is also very important.
Right.
So the SOTO think tank group that I'm working with, the teaching center, that's one of the goals, that at the end of it, every dean will be on board to appreciate scholarship of teaching and learning as part of research.
Right. To me, that seems like a no-brainer. I mean, and I feel like this university cares so much about teaching.
Yeah.
I'm a bit surprised to hear that there are places where the scholarship of teaching and learning wouldn't be considered significant.
The publications, they only look at publication in your area.
Right.
So even some professors are not encouraged, or they are not bold enough to put it in as part of research when they are presenting their resume. You see some creating separate sections.
Right.
Research.
In my discipline, research in teaching.
Research in teaching. So meanwhile, those people considering the file will only consider research in your discipline. But if you put everything together and they are not,
and they don't read closely,
you put everything together, your publications on scholarship of teaching and learning, it's publication.
Right.
It's not less than publication in your subject area.
It might even, to publish outside of your research area is harder
more
in many ways,
yes.
right? Yeah.
And it should be appreciated. So that's one of the things that will be good outcome of this SOTO.
Yes, I think that's really important.
Yes, on campus, both at the university, Lethbridge and Calgary, because we have some people in business also that are doing research and teaching.
Right.
And it's not being counted as well.
I mean, to me, it seems so clear that it's important for multiple reasons, right? It's important because it recognizes the work that people do, but it also then encourages people to take that work seriously. And so, I think it's...
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you, because it will encourage more professors to think in this direction.
Right.
Because improving your pedagogy, you need to read materials, you need to look at articles, come up with new ideas, and just use your class as an experiment. And then whatever you come out, try to share it with people.
Yeah.
Spark event every year, that's what it focuses on. Come and share.
Tell me about Spark.
Oh, Spark. I love Spark. I know it was introduced recently, but Brad has been doing a very good job in coordinating the Spark activities. In the Spark activities, they encourage professors and students, graduate students, to present information on pedagogy improvement on campus.
So it's a pedagogy conference that the Teaching Center hosts every
year.
Right at the end of term.
At the end of term, at the end of spring semester. This year, in this year's Spark, I will be joining other colleagues in presenting information on mentorship. Because the Teaching Center recently introduced mentorship program.
Right.
They are piloting it now. That is, they use some experienced faculty to mentor new hires, or those faculty who are not used to teaching, who wants to improve
And so
their
have
teaching.
you been involved in that project?
Yes, I'm involved. I'm mentoring two now. I have one in public health and the other one in sociology. So I will be talking with one of them at this Spark on our experience so far.
How has that experience been for you? I mean, it's an extra duty to take on in addition to the things you're already doing.
I agree with you, but when you are passionate about teaching, you don't count it as extra duty. It's something you love to do. So you count it as part of your hobby.
Well, and I find any time I get to talk with someone about teaching, even when their discipline's different from mine, you think, oh, that's an idea I can steal. So you might be mentoring them, but also
gaining something from
Yes.
there, yeah, because we are all co-learners.
Right.
So there is no perfect, no Mr. Know-it-all.
Mm-hmm.
We learn from conversation. That's why this sort of research should be encouraged, because it allows across-discipline collaborations.
Right. And I think sometimes before I got involved with the teaching center, I often thought about, it's like, well, no, that wouldn't work in my discipline. Like I thought that teaching was about my discipline. And then you realize so often the problems are cross-disciplinary, right?
Yes, it's cross-disciplinary. So that's why it's good to have time to sit together with other colleagues and share ideas. What are you experiencing in your class? How are you doing this? This is what I'm experiencing. You gain a lot. Talk about teaching. The teaching talks that I think it's now once a month.
Right, they're talking about teaching events, they're great.
If you attend it, you learn something. You cannot attend without learning something new.
Yes.
Every time. Last week, they presented something on digital instruction. That is bringing in class now to online. How can we make best use of it? You learn new ideas on what people are doing in English, what people are doing in French, what people are doing in nursing. We have somebody from fine art.
Right.
You see the approach they gave it. They are still common. Our common goal is to make sure we give the best to the students.
Right.
So meeting the student and making the student taking responsibility of their learning. So there are a lot to gain when we are together than when we operate independently.
And to me, one of the great things about the Teaching Center is facilitating those kinds of conversations in Spark, in talking about teaching.
Yeah, Teaching Center is very good at bringing that conversation and trying to manage it to make sure that's effectively done.
Right, and to make sure it's productive
It's
for us.
productive.
Well, and that, I guess, is our jobs, partly, as Board of Governors teaching chairs. So
I'm looking forward to working with them and learning from the past Board of Governors teaching chair, because I just tried, and I was lucky to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to working with you too. It'll be a great year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for your conversation here. I've learned a lot, and
Thank you, Anne.
we'll have a great year, I hope.
You too. Thank you.